Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bull Central. It is really, really cold today where I live. It is literally 9 degrees Fahrenheit below zero outside. And I'm not totally sure it's that much warmer than that inside in the house today. So yeah, it's a little chilly. So excuse me for wearing the winter hat. Also, I just got attacked by one of my cats because she's so cold. I tried to move her off of me and she lashed out. So I have a couple wounds on my face, some fresh wounds on my nose there and stuff. That's what happens. That's what happens when it gets this cold. Uh, on top of all that, though, I'm kind of having a rough day uh, mentally, emotionally. Um, and a lot of that stems from the fact that I'm feeling pretty um, helpless, abnormal, useless, because I see a lot of people around me making changes in their lives and making changes for the better, and I have, admittedly, I have challenges that many of them don't have. Um, I do have schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type. So things are a little bit harder for me on certain areas than they are for other people. Getting my head around change or improvement. Most of the time these days, although I was much more capable of it when I was a little bit younger, um, it feels like hopeless again. It feels just you just feel like you can't get better no matter what you do. It just feels like you can't get better, and you really want to get better. um and that's looking at the downside of it. I'm afraid I'm very good at that, and I'm trying more and more these days to look at the upside and to kind of see things how um I'd rather see them, just because it's it's easier and less painful to be positive than it is to be negative. Well, I don't know about easier, but it's less painful. So today I wanted to talk about um, what do you do when you get this feeling where it's you versus the normal people. It's you versus the normal flourishing people. And woe is me, I am not flourishing. I am not normal. I can't seem to do what they do a lot of the time. I'm stuck on if life is a flight of stairs or a ladder, I'm stuck on rung number 1 while they're climbing up to rung number 10, shoots and ladders style. Well, the first thing I would say to that kind of thought process is just take a look around and see if you actually see anybody not struggling in some way. A lot of people, their struggles are on the inside, they don't broadcast. A lot of people's struggles are easy to conceal, but they're still very, very impactful for them. The general point is that everybody's struggling. So no one's really got it so easy, as far as I know, as far as I've ever met. Even people who seem very, very fortunate, they have their own struggles. They've got their own battles. They've got their own demons that they've got to contend with. Nobody's really free of that, and as soon as you start thinking about it that way, it becomes kind of a little bit easier to stay more on the positive side of things, because you kind of understand. Look, it's not just me; it's everybody. And then the other thing I would say is maybe try not to focus so much on your plight. Try to focus on the plights of others a little bit. That's also something I'm not good at. I don't do that by nature. I never really have. My personality is such that from a very early age, I was the baby of the family, and I was the entertainer of the family. As you may be able to tell from my music and stuff. my writing and stuff. And so I learned from a very early age that one of the most effective ways to get love is to be projecting very loudly. And so, when it comes down to it, I'm kind of a selfish guy by default. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I am. So a lot of the work that I find myself doing on myself at this point in my life, and I am doing mostly work on myself these days, because otherwise there's no way forward for me. I have to get better, or I will just well, maybe that's not an expectation I need to carry either, that I have to get better for anybody or anything, but I want to. I'm desperate to get just so I can treat people better, just so I can be more positive, just so I can flourish, and the burden of the mental illness and the burden of interacting with people, it's not so harsh, it's not so horrible. And I like making these videos because I like to discuss with you, some of the ways that we can think about things a little bit differently, so we don't have to get so stuck in the doldrum. My mind takes me to very, very dark, deep, scary places sometimes. My behavior, the things that I say, the things that I do, they're not always great. I have a lot of issues with these things, and God willing, I can get better at it. So if you're a selfish person, like I am, it's really easy. And they call, depression, mental illness of any kind is usually, or typically, or commonly referred to as a selfish thing, a selfish disease. Not that a person with it is a selfish person, but that because it's so all-consuming, it consumes your entire mind. You can't help but focus on the bad. And eventually it just gets you in so much trouble. But it's sort of also a thing that if you have a chronic condition, it's not easy to control. And they will throw pills at it, and they will throw therapy at it, and both of those things, in my experience, are beneficial. I'm not saying they're not at all. And also, standard disclaimer, I'm not a mental health professional. Please don't take what I say as gospel. I'm just a sufferer, someone who's observed, someone who's been through a lot of different types of treatment in my life. Those things help just because, well, medication-wise, it can be chemically induced, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the way that we feel, a lot of the things that we do. If we are our brains, essentially, our conscious minds, our behaviors, as much as our souls, that's something that can help. It doesn't help for everybody, but it can help. I know that it benefits me. And they'll give that to you, and they'll give the therapy to you, but really the honest to God truth is that you've got to come out of that bubble somehow, man. You've got to suck yourself out of that bubble, and you've got to become responsible for everything you say and everything you do. And I have done some whopper things in my time in the name of mental illness, saying I didn't have a choice, I didn't have a choice, I didn't have a choice. And maybe that was the case. Maybe I didn't have a choice. But gosh, living with the guilt all these years later is not super fun. So you've got to try. If you don't try, then you're going backwards. And if you're going backwards, man, I got bad news for you. That's a bad road too. You gotta keep forward momentum. Somehow, some way, you get knocked to the ground with this crap, you get back up. And I don't care how long it takes. And I don't care how effective it is. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if the people around you are not super happy with how well you've recovered. Or if your behavior is still out of bounds, your thoughts are still out of bounds, you have to push. You got to fight. And I know that it's easy to say all the normal people around me, like I'm saying today. because it becomes a combative thing. It becomes a me versus them thing. And that's just not healthy, man. This is not healthy, especially with the people who are closest to you in your day-to-day life. You see a friend who's doing better at the one thing that you are struggling with than you ever will in your entire life. What are you going to do? You're going to turn them into an adversary. You can't do that. This is about you, your journey, your path, your burdens, your ability to overcome. Forgive me for saying this is between you and God, you and creation, you and reality, and we've got to try something. We've got to try something. So getting outside of yourself and seeing the plights of others is a new strategy for me. Maybe it seems obvious. It never has to me. Like I said, I've been a pretty selfish person my whole life. So, but there's so much suffering in the world. I mean, some days it seems like that's mostly what there is. And we can stew in our own juices about it. Been there, done that. God, I don't know, man. It's so tough. It's tough for me to be positive today. I'm not feeling it. And I want to be so bad. But I'm not. And maybe that's actually the lesson of the video today. Maybe the lesson of the video is you do the thing, you show up to the thing, you do the stuff, because it'll have dividends later. I'll feel better later because I did this, even if I don't feel good right now. A little nervous about posting it in the first place because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression or the wrong message, or I don't really want to take the classic internet hit that sometimes comes along with just being on the good old internet and producing content. But it's important to me to be an advocate for what I'm going through, and it's important to me to be some kind of advocate for people who understand similar facets of life. I'm not okay with being quiet. I'm not okay with just taking it on the chin. I want people to know that this is hard. It's really, really hard. And if you're going through it too, I feel such compassion for you and for what you're going through, because it's not a walk in the park by any means. It's a long road. It's a lonely road sometimes. It's a scary road sometimes. And there's nothing that you can really do some days to alleviate it. You just kind of have to go through it. And I've lost a lot of people. I've lost a lot of things. I lost my home. I lost friends. I lost my job, my career. But loss, other than being the flip side of gain, is another selfish thought process. Thinking of loss all the time, it keeps you, if nothing else, it keeps you dwelling on loss. It keeps you dwelling on the bad stuff. And that's just like, that's got to be a New Year's resolution. You got to get away from the bad stuff. You got to move forward. Get up, get out of bed, face the day, do what you can. Know that you're not alone. There's people like me. There's people like you. There's people who care for people like us, even if some days that doesn't seem so great either. I want to show that even on a hard day, you can, there's little rays of light. Yeah, even on a really cloudy day, there's still a sun behind the clouds. If you Forgive the stupid pun cliche. You're not alone. You're not alone, and you don't have to. You don't have to be especially brave for anybody either. Just be you and just do the best you can, for God's sake. And if you get tagged on the nose by a cute little kitty who's super cold, because it's 9 degrees below zero outside, whose idea was that? Anyways, you guys have a good day. You guys have a good next few weeks. We're in the cold part of the year in the northern hemisphere here. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, buckle up, get warm, get cozy, and get safe. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, enjoy the weather. But the same goes for you folks too. We can get through this. We can do this. We can do this. It's just some days it's harder than others. So, okay, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe and share and do some Morse code. Try to contact the Navy. Don't contact the Navy. See you next time. Yeah. Okay, do me a favor, everybody. This is my newest musical release, Audiophile One. It is a remastered, resequenced, remade version of my first album that I put out, I guess about 4 years ago now. I always wanted it to sound a little bit better. I always wanted it to flow a little bit better, so that's what I've done here. You can check this out. Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, even here on YouTube. That's it. That's all I gotta say. I am spent, or spient. Is that the French? No, that sounds more German. A spinta. That's the Italian. Sorry if I just offended people.